Good afternoon. Now we are recording today, so I would love for this to sound like we have about 300 people in the room. So good afternoon. Wow, if you're here today, say I am. I am. My name is George Fleming, and I want to begin with a question, and that is, how many of you are here because you had absolutely nothing else that you could think of doing today? Your to-do list completely checked off, your email blank and white, you have abs of steel, you have more romance in your relationships than you physically can handle? How many of you fall into that category? No? Okay. How many of you conversely might feel that you could live to be 147 and there will always be the to-do list items, the emails, the relationship, the money, the errands, the tasks that might need to get done? Anybody out there? Am I the only one? Now, I think it's less a matter of do we have a lot of things in our lives or a lot of busyness in our lives, but more about, are we clear about the context of what it is that we might be busy with? There was a nationwide study that was done a number of years ago with senior citizens, I like to call elders. And it was really a fascinating study. It was very diverse. It was evenly split between male and female, racially diverse, socioeconomically, industries from which these seniors came. And the study really just had one question, and that is, what is it that you wish you had known 20, 30, 40, 50 years before? Do any of you feel like, hopefully, that as the years go on, your perception of maybe what's important or how you define success or what creates a life well lived or a great company, do you feel like that grows over time, that maybe your learning and understanding grows? Yes? Okay. So the study really wanted us to tap into the wisdom of those seniors. And even though it was a diverse group, they came back with three consistent responses. The first is that they wished they had been more reflective. Too often they looked back and they just saw busyness. It got to be the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month. All of a sudden it's one of those decade birthdays where your friends show up and they've got all the black balloons and you're like, Anybody can relate to the speed of life and how quickly it goes? Yeah. So they wish that they had taken time to step away from the busyness of life and to get perspective and to ask some of those bigger questions. Who am I? Where am I going? What's important? How do I define success? Do I have a vision? What will make a life well led for me? That was number one. They wish they'd been more reflective. The second is they wish that they could have looked back and seen more of a legacy or an impact. Too often, again, they looked back and they saw busyness. I got a lot of stuff done. I answered a lot of emails. I checked off a lot of tasks. But in the end, what was the real impact of my life or my work? It's a real fundamental human need that we have to make an impact, to know that our days, that our precious life is really important and worth something. And finally, they wished that they had been more bold, more courageous. Too often they felt like they had played it safe. And yet as they looked back from the twilight years of their life, they wondered, like, why did I play it so safe? I had one life. Too often they looked back and they could see that they kind of stayed within this comfort zone. Oh, that's really cool, but I don't know, that's kind of unknown. But oh, I'm really passionate about that, but I got to focus on what's safe. And yet looking back, too often that little safety zone felt more like a coffin to them. So I think the seniors were teaching us, not just as individuals, maybe some things to consider in terms of how we live our life, but realizing, of course, that organizations, our organizations, are made up of what? People, yeah, that have the same needs and desires, regardless of what business we're in. And they gave us clues in terms about creating great organizations where people are most alive. Because I think what they were saying was, when we kind of are living maybe a smaller life or a smaller game, we feel a little bit more dead inside. But they wished that they had really engaged with a bigger vision, or had a bigger impact, or played bigger and more boldly, right? But I think it's also important to note that they didn't say, I wish I had chucked my life and just created some other amazing romantic Hollywood life out there. No, what they were saying was, I wish I had played bigger in my own life, and my own family, and my own work, whatever it is that I'm doing right now. There was a story that took place in the late 1800s, and it took place in Ireland. And one day, a couple of gentlemen were walking down a country lane, and they came upon a construction site. Lots of men out there working and noise and tools and materials. And they came upon the first workman. And they said, excuse me, sir, could you please tell us, what is it you're building? And the man's down there chipping away, and he says, what does it look like? I'm mortaring bricks. Ah, yes, mortaring bricks. Thank you, sir. So they walk on a few more paces, and they come up to another workman. Looks like he's doing the same thing. Excuse me, sir, could you please tell us, what is it you're building? And the man again, it's early in the morning, looking a little gruff. Do you not have eyes in your head? I'm mortaring bricks. Ah, yes, mortaring bricks. So they go up to a third man. Looks like he's doing the same thing, bricks, mortar, trowel. But this man's whistling away. Excuse me, sir, could you please tell us, what is it you're building? And the man looks up, he takes off his hat, and he says, I'm building a cathedral. I'm building a cathedral. That man had the vision that gave those bricks meaning. He had the purpose that gave those bricks, what? Passion. If we're driving by, we might look and say, oh, 3 guys that are laying bricks, right? But really what we're looking at is 2 bricklayers and a cathedral builder. How many of you feel like you get caught up in the bricks of your life, or you have a lot of bricks to deal with in your life or your work? Am I the only one? I need a coach. I think we all do. Think about the bricks of our life, all the tasks and to-dos of our life and work. But I think the question is not whether do we have a lot of bricks, or can we be more efficient with our bricks, or outsource or delegate our bricks, but what's the context in which we're living or working with our bricks? Are you clear about the cathedral that you're building with your bricks? Are you clear about the cathedral that you're building perhaps with your work? Or the cathedral that you're building with your life, or with your family or significant other within your community? A great question to ponder in any moment. Am I a bricklayer or am I a cathedral builder? A bricklayer or a cathedral builder? How many of you remember the video of Martin Luther King as he is standing there at the Lincoln Memorial looking out over the mall on that hot summer day when he declared he had a dream? What is it like to be in the presence of somebody or to witness somebody who has a dream? What's it like? Powerful. What else? Inspiring, contagious. Yeah, we look at it and we're like, I want to be a part of that. There's something that comes alive inside of us. We want to be part of something bigger than us. So all of a sudden our dream is not just igniting us, but there's something very positively infectious about that ignites other people. And if we think about if there's a time where within our organizations or within our own leadership, we need to have, to be able to increase our results and our performance, yet keep our costs down, how much does it cost to have a vision or a dream? What's it cost? Nothing. And even Martin Luther King, even though ultimately he paid with his life, how many people did he have to supervise or manage? None. How many people did he have to pay or create a great benefits plan for, or put on a performance review to go march with him? None. He didn't have to because he had ignited them, right? He had ignited them. So what if you went home, well, let's say if you go back to work tomorrow and you gather everybody within your workplace, and if you have a small workplace and maybe it's just you and a couple other people, think of something where you're going to gather maybe family around or community around. But you go back to your work and you gather everybody around who's associated with your work. And you say, everybody gather around, please. I've got an important announcement to make. I have a dream. A dream for us. Now at this point, you're probably going to want to have something to say. Otherwise, it might feel a little awkward. But what would that dream be? What would be the dream that you would share that you have about your workplace or about your role? Or if you went home, perhaps you have a significant other or a family or kids. What would you share with them in terms of what your dream is? What your dream is. And when we're talking about having a cathedral vision, that's not some big thing where I need to go home and I got to figure out my mission statement. And we might do that for our role or for our organization. But it's ultimately really about a way, how do we go through life and how do we go through our work? Like Albert Einstein says, we can see life as though nothing is a miracle or as though everything is a miracle. And likewise, we can go through our life and work as though everything is a brick or a task that needs to be done and needs to be completed. or we can see everything is an opportunity to build a cathedral. So I challenge you over the next 24 hours, finding 3 opportunities where you face that crossroads right now. Am I going to be a bricklayer or a cathedral builder? And if you really get exuberant about it, take your business card, cross out your title, and put in cathedral builder. Thank you very much.